Hey everyone, Mia here from Resonance Astrology and welcome to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel as well. We are always doing weekly overviews on here and just talking about the astrology of the week ahead. And this time we're going to take a look at the astrology of the week of May 26th till June 1st. So we are entering the month of June slowly. And this week is honestly a very Mercurial week. It's very much highlighted by the Gemini energy. So this is definitely something we're gonna be talking about this week. Mercury moving into Gemini. We have a new moon happening in Gemini. We have Gemini and the Sun coming together in a Cazimi or a conjunction. So as I said previously, a lot of Mercurial Gemini energy, and we are kind of closing off this week with Venus conjunct Chiron, so maybe a bit of a harsher transit, but overall I feel like this week is heading into a lighthearted, curious nature or direction of the sign of Gemini, and yet still Saturn just moved into the sign of Aries, right? We are like just coming fresh of that. So there's a whole new world and chapter also opening up there as well. And all the like Mercury moving into Gemini, the first planet Mercury meets is Saturn. It's a sextiling Saturn because both Gemini and Aries share a sextile relationship to one another, or a degree-based aspect. So this is also kind of what's happening. But yeah, this is what we are basically going to be talking about this week. And also, I just want to say, I don't know if you know this, my background is fully new and set up. My beautiful pictures from the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, that I got a few months ago. These were the artworks that were inside, and I really, really love and appreciate them. And so, yeah, the lighting I feel is also a bit better. And yeah, this here is a candle holder, but it kind of looks like planetary spheres, right? And it actually has 7 like candle holders. So technically, you know, it's like the 7 inner planets. So yeah, I feel like the background, I really like the new background. So that's just, I wanted to say that. And yeah, before we dive in. But this is this. And so again, we're starting off Monday with Mercury moving into the sign of Gemini. The sign of Gemini is a curious sign. It is a sign that likes to ask why? And especially with Mercury, you know, entering its home sign, essentially, it amplifies this even more. And because the Gemini energy is very childlike, okay? It's not childish, it is childlike in the sense that when you think of it, think of like preschool children. They're just like, why is this like that? Or like the questions they ask, you know, like, oh, why is the ice cream red? Oh, because of this. But why do we eat ice cream? Okay, because of this. Oh, but why? You know, it's just always like, why? It doesn't necessarily have to be to get to an answer. It's just about knowing that I can ask why. Because Gemini, I feel like for me, is always a reminder that we, like, asking the right questions can really propel us into a new path, into a new way of being, into a new way of thinking, because questions open worlds. Thinking about the right question is like a new world is suddenly opened in some sort of sphere in our mind. And this is for me really like the best of the Gemini energy. And it's been a while since we've had Mercury in its other home sign, which was Virgo, so like almost half a year ago. So finally now Mercury is returning to its other home sign. And obviously this is also going to amplify the Gemini moon that's happening in the night of Monday to Tuesday. So yeah, this new moon in Gemini is very much linked to that Mercury also just newly ingressing here. And I don't want to dwell on this like too much, just because I did a whole separate video, which I'm probably going to link somewhere here or definitely down in the description below, about the new moon in Gemini, where I talk about all of this much more in depth. And this is really an overview, so I'm not going to talk half an hour about this here, because there's a video that's half an hour talking about this much more in depth. Obviously, you know, Saturn being at play here gives this lighthearted energy a bit, you know, it's like Daddy Saturn's here with with the stick, and it almost feels like, okay, I want to ask all the whys, but Saturn is kind of here like, you know, ask the right questions. If you ask the wrong questions, I might, you know, take out my wand or whatever, and like, Saturn's not gonna whip us, but I feel like you guys know what I mean with this. Saturn just has this quality of like a harsh teacher sometimes, that is just like you're writing a test and it's looking over like, is this person writing the whole thing? And then, you know, that energy of like stepping away and just asking the whole class, like, or no, like speaking to the whole class, like, oh, just read the questions properly. And you just know, oh gosh, the teacher looked at my test and that's what they're saying to the whole class. Like, that means I'm probably not reading the questions right. So I feel like that's the energy that Saturn is bringing here right now. Just newly have moved into the sign of Aries. This as well, by the way, if you haven't already checked out that video, me and Aid did a whole in-depth video breaking down Saturn and Aries, what it means on an archetypal level, what it means on a collective level, and then going through all the signs. So, you know, you can watch it for your rising sign. All the 12 horoscopes are up there. It's a super long and in-depth video. So if you haven't already, check that out as well, if you want to know more about Saturn and Aries and what it means for you. And yeah, later on Monday, obviously the moon moves into the sign of Gemini. We are getting a Gemini new moon at the pretty early degrees of Gemini. Obviously the moon in Gemini also meets Saturn very quickly onwards. And yeah, what we also have, of course, since Neptune is there as well, is that after they meet Saturn, they also meet Neptune. So there's already this Neptunian Saturnian energy in Aries that is getting influenced right now. And this is really what we are starting the week off with. On Wednesday, we don't really have any crazy or significant transits going on. The moon moves into the sign of Cancer later on that day. So, you know, emotions probably maybe a bit more on the rise, or just like things are feeling a bit more intuitively. Then on Thursday, we actually also don't really have any significant transits going on, which is fine. You know, I feel like all of us are just newly opened up to the new set of Saturnian lessons with Aries. I feel like there's enough to just process right now that it's like, it's okay. We don't need crazy transits every day. On Friday, we have the Sun and Mercury conjunction, also known as a Cazimi. Interesting point here, especially, you know, I wanted to, I don't always do this, you know, because I usually write this down, but I'm trying to get all of this done and plenty of other couple of things done before I go on holidays. And so I actually wanted to read you from the book, The Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. Amazing astrological cookbook when it comes to transits, like highly recommend. And I just want to read the principles that Ren put here for Sun and Mercury. So a bright and enthusiastic mind, creative thinking, warm communication, the direct sharing of one's point of view, a conscious sense of purpose, self-centered opinions and intellect, excessive subjectivity and lack of perspective, an overstimulated or overheated mental atmosphere. So, you know, he writes like the good and the bad, or like the light and the shadow qualities, however you want to look at it. He also, actually, let me read that as well, because he writes about like character and themes. So a bright and enthusiastic mind, an intellect supported by willpower and energy, consciousness of purpose, a direct sharing of one's point of view, urges to make comments and statements, one's own perspective. I think, therefore I am, which Descartes said. Mock egotism. I have often wished I had time to cultivate modesty, but I am too busy thinking about myself, which Edith Sitwell said, Sun conjunct Mercury, natally. an energized flow of communication, details and errands. And then again, he goes a bit more deeply into shadow qualities here: a self-centered intellect, an overly subjective outlook, mental blind spots, a lack of perspective, opinionated communication, a tendency to dominate other people with one's point of view, an overstimulated or overheated mind. I do feel like that overstimulated and overheated mind is something that can potentially happen, just because Saturn and Neptune are at play here as well. And, you know, Aries rules over the head. So it is a bit of a head-heavy energy that we are entering right now. And we currently, as of this week, have a lot of planets traveling through air signs and through fire signs. Both of these signs are yang, masculine energy, much more outwardly focused. So, yeah, it can sometimes get a bit too much because then it can be more difficult to, you know, take the energy back inside and actually do these more mindfulness practices. Just like sit with our emotions. It's like very directed outwards, and it's much more like wordy and almost like spewing, you know. And so this is why I feel like, while I love this Cazimi, it's, you know, Mercury is in its home sign, so it's a good Cazimi in a position for Mercury to be in. I can also see how there might be, there's just, we have to be careful to not overstimulate ourselves. And all of this is, you know, everything that we are kind of going through with the sign of Gemini right now is a preparation for Uranus that is also going to move into Gemini. And this is a time that's going to be even more overstimulating. And so we really need to keep our mental stimulation levels in check, because while, you know, the childlike energy can be good, especially if we're like probably outside in nature or learning new subjects, the same energy can also be, doom scrolling and just needing more dopamine hits all the time. So it can go in either way. And I feel like we just need to be very careful of these energy levels and where we are directing our mental energy towards. Because you know that quote that is like, show me the 5 closest people to you and I'll show you your future. Well, I feel like nowadays it's like, show me the 5 accounts that you follow the most or get the most post recommended, and like that can tell us a lot about yourself. Like looking at your explore page can tell us a lot about you, in good and bad ways, but it's just something we need to literally keep in mind. Because and that's also what Saturn and Aries is slowly but surely urging us to do. It's like, choose ourselves first, nobody's gonna save us from our dopamine addiction. We have to choose ourselves first and take things into our own hands. Okay, nobody's going to take the phone away from you. You have to actively do things or buy things or whatever to get yourself kind of away from that phone, if that's what you're struggling with. I'm just using that as an example because I feel like a lot of people are struggling with phone addictions, and Gemini is just very like Gemini. Because Gemini rules like communication and all of that. I feel like it's just very visible in social media and all this like back and forth. And it's like such fast mind energy. I mean, sometimes even I'm, not sometimes, I'm constantly overwhelmed by social media. But watching, like, it feels so unnatural sometimes. Like I want to use it intentionally. At the same time, it's very confusing for our brains and our bodies to watch a story that is about something very sad and then skip to the next story that is a funny meme, then skip to the next story where your friend is getting married, skip to the next story, which is something utterly sad again. Like that's very, it's so fast. We're getting information so fast, and it's very unnatural for our nervous system to like hold all of that. Just like hold and sift through all of that, which is why a lot of us are, in dysregulated states. And what happens to me actually is when I'm dysregulated, I go on social media even more. Like, I use social media even more when the more dysregulated I am. It's the harder it is to get it away from me. So it's really something we have to keep in mind, especially throughout the Uranus and Gemini years, because Uranus is also gonna, form that beautiful, lovely trine to Pluto in Aquarius, and Aquarius rules over the World Wide Web and the internet. So our society is just bound to get even more technological, but it's up to us. Again, Saturn and Aries says it's up to us. And Saturn and Neptune together anyways in the sign of Aries are very much about, I want the real thing, I want the raw thing. So I do feel like there is, despite everything getting more technological, I do feel like there is this urge in a lot of us of kind of ditching that and taking back control of our lives and doing more things IRL, having connections IRL, doing events IRL. Like, I love Zoom, I love all these things. There's so many people that I'm connected with or have connected through these technologies, which could never make me hate them. At the same time, we do also have to have community support IRL, because if you shut down that screen and you're alone at home and there's nobody there, like that's a problem, that is getting into the area of a problem. And especially with these technologies like AI, ChatGPT, and all of that just getting even more prevalent, where people are starting to have kind of parasocial relationships with that. We have to be a bit careful, okay? We have to be a bit careful there. Nothing is a guarantee, right? Like, even IRL things, people hurt us, which is, I think, one of the great or big reasons why people are going to ChatGPT and all of that, because it like, we can be vulnerable without getting hurt, because this thing will always be, it's built like that it's always supportive of us. And that's just, I'm just wondering what all of this will do to us long term. I'm not a doomsday person at all. I'm like, we're alive here right now for a reason. If I'm like, if I have to live through the technological revolution, like, I'm meant to do that for some reason. So I'm not hating on all of that. I think in some way this is divine too. In some way this wants to be expressed through us right now. And every one of us that is alive, like, we are just bound to experience this for whatever reason, So I'm not hating on that at all, but I am just always, again, that's maybe my Gemini moon. I'm just curious. Like, I'm just curious about where this will go. And instead of immediately putting it in a box, I'm like, let's just ask questions. So I guess I'm embodying the Gemini energy here myself. So that's interesting. What we also have on Friday is the moon is moving in Leo later on that day. More heart-centered energy. I currently love the moon being in Leo just because it is amplifying, like, it's forming a trine to Saturn in Aries, to Neptune in Aries, to Venus in Aries as well, and also conjoining that Mars that is in Leo. So I do feel like it's that good heart-centered energy to take back our power, okay? These fire signs are so much about taking back our power to us, realizing that we can. That, reality is not at our mercy. There's a quote I had on my phone for a long time as my banner, which was, wait, I don't want to screw it up right now. You're not a victim of your circumstance. You're only the victim of your own inability to overcome them. And now that I'm saying this, I feel like I already said that in a video at some point, but regardless, we can repeat this here as well. So I feel like that's very Saturn and Aries. I feel like that's very, very, very Saturn and Aries. And actually now I'm just thinking of an amazing metaphor that just happened on our balcony. I put three, I think they're called Swiss charts, which is funny because we don't call them like that here in Switzerland, or just charts or whatever, And I put them in 3 separate like buckets for plants, and now they're already bigger. But when they were small, my cat used to sit in one of those buckets all the time, like basically squishing the plant. And I was like, no, like don't do that. But at the same time, I can't just like take him away. Interestingly enough, that bucket with that plant, where my cat constantly went to sit on it, is the biggest and strongest plant right now. The other 2 ones are also growing. They're not as strong. So I feel like that was such an interesting metaphor for Saturn and Aries, and how, challenges, ways in where we are limited, where metaphorically a cat sits down on us and we are like forced to gain strength to overcome this adversity, actually makes us stronger. And I feel like that's what Saturn and Aries is really here to teach us. And yeah, the moon in Leo definitely, chimes in and supports all of that. So that's what we are getting there. Going from Friday throughout Saturday, on Sunday, we are officially entering the month of June. And we also don't have any crazy significant transits going on there, but we do have at the evening, Venus in Aries is coming together in a conjunction with Chiron in Aries. And, this is the quintessential, can't say this word right, quintessential transit of wounds around love, relationships, your values, some money wounds, perhaps even just coming up. And sometimes it's even in a way where other people come into our life. They say something, they do something, not even specifically intentionally, and it mirrors this back to us. Like, it mirrors that wound back to us, where we just feel like, oh, like, yeah, that's super icky. Like, that's that deep relationship wound, especially things that have to do with our self-worth. Especially things in relationships where we felt like we had to diminish our flames, our power was stripped away from us, where we felt like we couldn't be ourselves, where we felt like somebody was just, completely like bashing our self-worth in some sort of way or restricting us. All of that is very Venus conjunct Chiron in the sign of Aries. And this is like, because Venus and Chiron are already like pretty far advanced. Like, they're 25 degrees of Aries. So they're not the beginning degrees like Saturn and Neptune are. Regardless, the combination of all these 4 planets there right now just have an interesting agglomeration. I hope that's how you say it. Where they can really, bring up all of that. Because Neptune as well, right, can get us illusioned, can also get us very disillusioned about certain things, especially when Saturn is there as well. Because they're kind of serving as like a tension point, because they're both like very opposite to one another. Like Neptune dissolves things, Saturn makes things concrete. Neptune is all about having a sort of whale and not seeing things clearly. Saturn is very concrete and grounded and wants to see things exactly as they are. Neptune is about everything that is beyond this life, like, very that spiritual realm. Saturn is everything that is in materia. Neptune is dissolving boundaries, Saturn is setting boundaries. So there's a bit of an opposing force between all of them. And so a lot of these wounds in relationships where maybe this was a struggle is something that could be coming up around June 1st, around Sunday. So keep that in mind for this week. And again, I'm going to say the quote here again. You're not the victim of your circumstance. You're only the victim of your own inability to overcome it. And sometimes we need to get pushed into these corners. It's very Martian. Aries is a Martian sign. It needs challenge. It needs something to work towards. Oftentimes when it's threatened, it works better because it can overcome things. So sometimes we need to get pushed in these uncomfortable situations so we realize that we are not the victim of our circumstance, that we are in fact just a victim of our own inability to overcome it. And then we can finally see the solutions and see like, oh, this is what I'm missing, you know? So I feel like that is maybe a good note to end this on for this week. Again, a very airy, fiery week. So many planets, again, are in air and fire signs right now. A lot of young, masculine energy in the air, very proactive and doing things. So yeah, and you know, after that, the week after that, we are slowly but surely entering the realm of Jupiter in Cancer. Like, it's not happening the week after that, but just slowly, you know, which is, I feel like, good, because then we are having a bit more of that water element again here, because it is a lot, you know. Every time there is lots of planet in certain elements, I guess it obviously also depends on your chart, can even things out, but can make things also a lot more intense. But yeah, this is what I have for you guys this week. I hope, yeah, things turn out the way they should turn out. I hope maybe you can realize certain limiting beliefs or things that have been holding you back and how you can overcome them in a better way. So it's truly empowering. Okay, Saturn and Aries, choose you first. Don't wait till somebody else does it. And yeah, I will be on holidays for this week that I'm making this weekly overview with, but I'm coming back again on June 2nd on Monday, so I will be able to do the horoscopes again then in my room, which is good. Yeah, I'm going to Serbia visiting my family. I'm excited for that. And yeah, I recorded a 12th house episode yesterday. So that should hopefully be up next week. I do have some editing to do literally after I finish this video. I hope I can finish that before I leave, because I really want to get out this video next week, and then the whole 12th house series is finished, and I'm so excited. It's also starting a new chapter, so yeah, this is what I have for you guys. Again, videos worth checking out are the Gemini new moon video and the Saturn and Aries video with the horoscopes. So that's what I have for you guys. Yeah, make sure to leave a like. You know the drill, right? It's really just to push the algorithm. I don't even like doing that so much. But you know, commenting helps, sharing helps, liking helps, subscribing helps, following me on Instagram doesn't specifically help, but it brings me joy because I post a lot of cool stuff on there as well. So yeah, I wish you all guys a lovely and pleasant astrological week ahead. And yeah, talk to you guys soon. Bye.